Hi, Keen and Now students. So we're here for, I'm hoping, the last video in the series. And this is on ELA Unit Planning. So what we did last time is the first few pages, and then I had a little in-between video that I didn't think I was going to have, which is just on the organization and researching and getting all that information that you need for your unit. This one, we're going to actually fill out the grid and then go into the lesson planning part of the unit plan. So what I have here is what I started with. You'll notice that there are some changes. So first of all, the time frame I was able to fill in now because I ended up doing my grid. Also, and you'll find this very normal, that once you start planning out your lessons, you'll say, "Ooh, I think I bit off a bit more than I can chew in this unit. I'm going to have to put some of those things I wanted to do into a later unit," which is exactly what happened when I started planning this unit. I didn't want a 3-month unit on biographies. Units are great to be about 5 weeks or less. I love a good 2-week unit. This one's a little bit heavier, but it does include reading and writing components, so it is bigger. But I decided that I needed to take out the interviewing part and having them choose an individual that they know and do interviews, because I really wanted to, when I was planning it out, I was thinking, well, I want to model the whole process with them. And in order to model the whole writing process with them, I want them to do the same thing I'm doing. So what I did was I modeled how to take notes from a book. And so I want them to do that as well. And well, there's not going to be a book about their mom. So I changed that a little bit. And so my write-up here on the unit overview, I changed a little bit. I didn't have to change any of the unit essential questions or the focus, but I did do a little bit of changing. So I took out that interview piece, and they are writing about themselves, about somebody that's in a book. Okay, so I didn't change anything on this page because I'm still doing all of the GLOs and SLOs. Again, those are air quotes GLOs and SLOs that I organized in the last video. I went and deleted all of my worksheet pages, like my brainstorming pages. As I was doing that, I was bringing it down into this grid. So you'll notice that in the previous video, I had tons of books. Well, I narrowed those down into the ones I'm actually going to use for this unit. However, those other books on empathy, I'm still collecting them because I still have them. I'm just going to make a little display in my classroom for literacy centers and quiet reading time that's going to be all about books that teach on empathy. So I'm still having them. I'm just not explicitly teaching with them, but I still want them. Also, I've selected 4 different individuals that we're going to be writing about for my modeling. Actually, we could say a 5th one, but we'll get there. But 4 of them in my first 2 weeks, which are the white boxes here. And that doesn't mean that those are the only 4 people I'm collecting books on. I'm getting every biography book that is at my grade 3 reading level or the levels of the students in my class, as many as I can. And that's going to be another display that they're going to peek through and they're going to read in their free time and things like that. It's just, I'm explicitly going to be teaching Louis Riel. I'm going to be teaching Dolly Parton, Terry Fox, and Tom Longboat. And those are the ones I'm going to explicitly teach so that I can model. Plus, we're going to do somebody else, but I'm not choosing that because that goes in my purple week here. I've color coded this week, which is modeling the entire project. So we're going to do one biography as a whole class, and I'm going to model every single part of it. And then they're doing the exact same thing the following week on their own. So it'll be whatever they choose. So I'll put out a bunch of books and we'll take a little class vote. We'll do some collecting data and graphing for math, and we'll vote on that. So I took all of that one sheet with all my brainstorms of all the different lessons I think I need to have, and I sorted it out into order. So we're going to start with the intro to biographies. Then we're going to do, again, right off the bat, a lesson on empathy. And then we're going to start with our reading comprehension strategies, making connections, making connections, making connections. And then I've also added jot notes in here, summarizing versus retelling, using the Terry Fox book. Again, I'm reusing the same book so that I don't have to reteach the content of the book. I can just reteach the topic that I need to talk about, which could be summarizing. If I choose a different book for this day, for this summarizing versus the one I already taught, then I'm going to have to go back again and reteach the actual book. And then I might not have time to teach summarizing versus retelling. So reuse those books. Then I'm getting on to continuing with jot notes and summarizing. We are going to go to a website this time because I want to model that we can get information from websites. And we're going to have a discussion on good resources and some places that might not be a good source and how can we figure that out. Then I got to get into actually the writing. So writing paragraphs. In talking about these writing paragraphs, we're going to be actually all of these, I'm going to be pointing out the proper nouns. Proper nouns are something that they would have talked about in grade 1, grade 2, and now again grade 3. So I don't necessarily need a whole unit on nouns and proper nouns. It's just going to be a part of it that I'm just including a question on nouns in there. We're going to, again, modeling opening and closing sentences. My paragraph, now this is not a standard, the only way to do paragraphs, but this is grade 3 where we're really doing beginning paragraphs. So I'm going to model that they have to do an opening sentence, 3 facts on one topic. So it could be childhood or legacy, whatever the facts are, 3 facts that they're going to put in there, and then a closing sentence. Does it mean that a paragraph can't have 4 facts? Of course not, but I want to really structure this for my students so we have like a formula that we're learning how to do this. This is not grade 8 paragraph writing, this is grade 3. Okay, we're continuing on that, and now we're going to write a paragraph on one of these people. So this is just general paragraph writing, and now we're getting back into our biography paragraphs. And then I did do a little bit of an interview just because I thought interviews are fun, but that's not going to be our final task. But we are going to interview a classmate in class. We're going to learn about them, and then they're going to do a paragraph on that student. Throughout all of this is all my closings are going to be sharing time. So we're sharing our writing, sharing our thoughts, sharing our points of view every time as our closer. Maybe a full sharing circle, maybe just sharing time, depending on the time frame that I have for each lesson. Then I felt it good to color code because this white part is all my introductory lessons. And now we are going to do a essay. So the final task is an essay on a biography, like a biography essay, sorry. So we're going to do that as a whole class. So we're going to choose one topic. So let's say we're going to do it on Louis Riel. And we are going to choose this person as a class. And then the whole week, I'm modeling every single thing that they are going to have to do in the following week on their own. So day 1, we're going to read a bunch of books on Louis Riel. We're going to do research on Louis Riel. We're going to take jot notes. Day 2, we're going to do websites and take jot notes. We're going to watch a video and take jot notes. Day 3, we're going to turn our first jot notes into a paragraph. So organizing all the childhood jot notes and choosing 3 facts that we're going to put into the paragraph. Organizing all our career stuff on their career, and we're going to model that, write it into a paragraph. I'm the one doing the writing for this because I'm modeling. I'm going to use their jot notes. They can shout out jot notes to me. And I'll put the jot notes on maybe a chart paper on the board, but I'm writing the paragraph. I'm getting their suggestions, but I'm physically doing the writing. The next day, we're going to continue on and do our last paragraphs. And then again, we're modeling editing. So I'm going to have, as I'm writing these paragraphs, though, I have to know that I'm trying to model editing skills. So in knowing that, I can't have everything perfectly written. So I'm going to say, ooh, that's a tricky word to spell. How do we spell that word? Legacy. Okay, can someone spell it for me? And then they spell it Lagacy. And I just write that out. And then we move on, knowing that on my final day, I'm going to be doing editing. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to edit. I'm going to use a checklist, an editing checklist, the same checklist that they're going to have to use next week on their own writing. So I'm going through every step, and then again, I'm going to write the final copies. I may put this in the writing center where students can choose a paragraph to write the good copy of. I might have some volunteers that want to work on that. And so that's how I'm modeling this. I have this laid out as 5 days, but we all know that, give or take a couple days, it might go a little over. And that's fine. It might be a little less. It all depends on the periods that I have. So then we go into the final week of student work, and that's where they're literally doing the exact same thing I just did, but they're doing it on their own. And I will put most of the class will be doing independent. Some students will do a small group with me. So those are my real high needs students, the students that struggle with reading and writing skills. So everybody's independent except for that crew that need the support, and maybe that's 5 students. So they're going to do one topic with me, and I'm going to be a little bit more with them, leading them, or it could be an EA if you have EA support, but it's going to be with an adult doing a lot of the scribing and really the leading and having them work together in a group. So that's how I do that differentiation, where everybody's doing the same thing except in a different way. So that's why it says independent/small group. But day 1, they're researching. Day 2, they're researching with websites and videos. Day 3, they're working on their rough drafts, editing, final copies. And I'm going to allow them during center time that they might need to work on that for their writing and reading and those kind of centers. For literacy centers, they can get caught up on that. And then that all leads to our final task, which is the sharing showcase. So we are presenting our writing in 3 ways. They're writing it as an essay that I'm posting on a bulletin board. I will post that. I'm going to copy each one's final copy and I'm going to put it into a book. I'm going to compile that and bind that for them. The sharing showcase is what they're doing. So they're going to be working on their oral presentation skills. And that is going to take probably a couple days because we want to really practice that. I'm going to send a letter home so they're practicing it at home with their parents, all of the things that they need to take note of. And I'm going to send invites to all of the parents to come and watch. And it's going to be a big celebration of our learning. So that is my unit on 1 page. Some of these boxes, though, may take 2 periods, and that's fine. So now that I've done this, I go back up to my first page here, and I'm filling out that it's going to take me about 5 weeks. So if I look down here again, I have 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and the 5th week is for that final task and getting prepped for that final task. So I don't have all of my outcomes written in each box. That's what I would do for something like science, social studies that has those specific outcomes. I'm not doing that for ELA. I'm making sure that I've covered all of these things in the lessons that I have, but I'm not writing them in the box. This is kind of what it's going to be. This is my whole unit. Now I have to do my lesson plans for it. And the lesson plans are done almost exactly the same as the lesson plan template. It's just a little bit smaller and more concise. So what we have here is all of our titles basically are in the box. So I just copy the information from the box and I paste it down here. And then I copy this one. And I paste it, see lesson title and SLOs, I paste it down here. And I go through and I paste all of them. Boom, 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 all of them. And then I go through and I fill out the rest of it. So what I have here is my introduction to biography lesson, my activate, acquire, apply, and closure. Please don't forget closure. I've noticed that on some of the templates, it doesn't say closure there, so you must add that in. But I'm going to do, this is how I'm going to introduce biography. So day one, I'm going to just have my students, they all sit in groups. I'm going to pass out piles of books to each group and allow 5 to 10 minutes for them to explore the books. And then we're going to have a quick discussion. What do you notice about the books? What's the same about these books? What are these books about? Again, the activation is not teaching anything new. It's just getting them to start thinking. I'm prepping their brains to learn about biographies. Then I'm going into acquire. I'm going to ask, does anyone know what this genre is called? If they do, great. And then I'm going to explain it to them. I'm going to show the anchor chart. This is the anchor chart that I'm going to create. So I just took a screenshot of it and added it to my lesson plan. These little screenshots really help me be able to write less on my lesson plan because I don't have to explain what my anchor chart is. So this is my biography anchor chart. I'm going to go through all of the pieces. It has the definition. It has information. It has 4 sections that are good for standards, common features. I'm going to go over all of that with them. And we're going to explain and discuss. Then I'm going to model. So I'm going to give them each a passage. I decided to choose a passage for day one versus a book because everybody can have a copy and we don't have to worry about a lot of writing. Instead, we're going to highlight right on it. So that takes a little bit of the cognitive load off of writing into understanding parts of a biography. So all they have to do is highlight. Or if you don't have colored highlighters in your class, crayons are great. We just underline with the crayon. Okay, so that's what you can do. But we're going to read, I'm just going to give everybody a copy of the Louis Riel text. I got this one free from TPT. And I'm going to pass it out to everybody, and we're going to look for the 4 things that are on the biography anchor chart. So childhood, challenges, traits, and legacy. But what I'm going to model with them is just the challenges, and we're going to highlight that in red. So I'm going to read the whole thing first, then I'm going to read it a second time, and we're going to look for challenges and underline that with a red crayon. Then we're going to read the whole thing through again, and we're going to look for traits. So tell me things we know about Louis Riel, his personal traits. And we're going to go through that and circle those or underline those with a blue crayon. Now I'm going to look at all my red notes, my red annotations, and I'm going to model how to make notes from that. I'm going to do the writing. They're not writing anything here. I'm going to ask, okay, who can tell me one thing we underlined? What's one challenge? Okay, great. Can you read that from the paper? Excellent. Now, who can flip over the paper and say it in their own words? And now we're going to say it in our own words, and I'm going to model jot noting it on chart paper. I'm going to probably keep it on chart paper so that I can refer to it later in my unit as an example of jot notes. And we're going to go through that for all of the challenges and all of the traits. And then the students are going to show me if they understand this process. So the apply is independent work. And they are going to practice by highlighting the childhood info in yellow and the legacy info in green. They're going to make 3 jot notes for each section on their paper. Now, it might not be 3, so there might only be 2. That's okay. We'll see how it goes. And that's what the students are going to be. While they're doing that, I'm bumping around the room. I'm making sure everybody's on track. I'm pulling those students that I already know are going to have trouble doing it on their own or are showing that they're struggling, whether it be behavior-wise or academically-wise, and I'm going to put them at my back table, and I'm going to go sit down there once everybody else is set up independently working, take my small group, and I'm going to model childhood. I'm going to model legacy. I'm going to model jot notes with that small group again. Pulling people to my group and sending people away from my group once they get it. Sometimes they just need that little reteaching. At the end, my closure is very simple. It's 1 line here. Students share 1 jot note with the class. So that's all I'm going to do. Go around the class. Everyone's going to share 1 thing they wrote. I also found this jot note anchor chart that I will refer to when I'm teaching my jot notes. Okay, so my resources and materials is just a list of all the things I'm going to need to get ready. I don't put things like crayons, pencils, scissors, glue, because I know everybody has that in their desk. These are things that I don't normally have prepared because the materials and resources list is for me to remember what I need to get done for my lesson ahead of time. Adaptation. So how am I going to support struggling students? Well, for this, I'm going to have my small group support for students who need help during the apply section. I am also modeling every single step. That's not really an adaptation. That's for one or two people. That's for everybody to know exactly what to do. If you are not modeling, you're not teaching. Like, you really need to model and show people how to do things. And then I need to make sure I have highlighters, and they're going to be using highlighters. That's a whole class design for everybody, which helps to reduce the cognitive load so that they can focus on not as much writing. Now, later when we get into books and websites and stuff, yeah, there's going to be a lot more writing right away than highlighting. And the assessment is going to be an assessment of learning. Students are going to submit their highlighted text and their jot notes. So I'm going to know who I worked with in my small group. I actually, as a teacher, have a little stamp that I would stamp in the corner. It says done one-on-one with the teacher or done in a small group. And then all the independent ones, I'm going to have I don't need to go through and intensely grade this. What I need to do, though, is have a quick glance at everyone's highlighting and jot notes to check, are they copying word for word? Are they getting the important stuff? Did they miss something important? Are they understanding the process of jot notes? That will inform my next lesson on jot notes. Okay, so that's my whole lesson plan. Question that students do ask is if I'm coming in for an observation. Okay, so when I'm coming in for an observation of your lesson and you want me to see this introduction, you do have to transcribe this onto a lesson plan template. Okay, so this is not enough. You need to have the full thing done with copies of all your handouts, with everything, but that's only for the formal observations. For anything else, you do not have to put everything on your unit plan onto separate lesson plans. So it's just the 1, 2, 3, 4 times that you're getting an actual observation for assessment for this course. Okay? So that's how I do my lesson plans. I keep going through step by step through all of them in order. And that's it. I think we're all pretty decent with lesson planning, but that's what we do. And at this point is where I'm really sticking in screenshots and snips of all of the handouts that I'm going to need, because I will forget, I will lose track of this, and this really does help. So please put those screenshots. If you're doing a website or a video, put the actual clickable link onto this. It will help you later be organized. Okay, so I think I am done this video series. If you need anything else, please email me. Let me know what you want to know more about. If I wasn't clear on something, please let me know. And